Welcome to Taking Stock on ENCA, and today we are in New Doornfontein, downtown Johannesburg, at one of 21 Spark schools. And before I talk to the co-founder, Stacy Brewer, let's show you what happened at Assembly this morning. Now, Stacy Brewer, that's not normal. That's not how I remember Assembly. It's probably not even how you remember Assembly. What on earth just happened at school assembly this morning?
So, Bruce, we actually call it Sparks Fly, not Assembly, and it's an opportunity for us as a community to get together and to celebrate learning and just start the day in a good space to get us ready to move into the class and get ready for learning.
It gets rid of, kids are full of sillies first thing in the morning. They may have had some breakfast, they may be excited to see their friends, they may have had an exciting ride into school, whatever it is, lots of stories to tell, lots of information to swap. And that's what kids need to do, get rid of that stuff.
Absolutely, get rid of the energy, but also start with our school creed, which really links to the core values, which is our promise that we make every day as teachers, as kids, and that's what we need to remind our scholars. And then we have a song and dance, which is linked to our core values to reinforce what we are about.
The kids are singing, we're going to go to university. It's this promise that's being built in at the age of 5 and 6.
Yes, and our promise is absolutely, we want them the choice to go to university. We're not saying it's the answer, but the point is that they will have the opportunity to go to university if they want to. And what I love about it is that the children from grade R are discussing when are they going to university amongst themselves, and a lot of them are saying, maybe next year. We say, well, who knows at Spark, maybe you could be ready.
You may have a Mozart here. You may very well have a Mozart. Education in South Africa is fraught with complexity. They've got a public schooling system that is not adequately serving the needs of South Africans. Not enough kids at grade 3 and 4 level can read with comprehension. We know those statistics. The public schooling system is letting kids down. But there's a huge gap between public schooling and private schooling. Some private schooling, 10,000 Rand a month it can cost. Where are you positioning yourself within the spectrum?
So, Bruce, in terms of Spark schools, so we are operating at 23,000 Rand a year in terms of school fees. So we fall in terms of the school fees, we benchmark against other government schools and looking at government's total cost to educate. But on the quality perspective, we aim to compete with the top private schools in the country.
Do you get any subsidies? Do you get any support whatsoever?
We get no subsidies at all. It's really parents that are just paying for the school fees that completely covers the cost of running the schools.
This place that we're in, it feels like the boiler room of a power station or a factory sort of space of something. We are in an industrial area of old Johannesburg. What was this?
So our Spark Maboneng school is exactly in town. It was a...
See, this is class. This is school time. The kids are going mad. This is not the way it was. Anyway,
They're not going mad.
I'll get over it. They're learning. Okay, that's what it is.
This used to be an old clothing factory that actually, unfortunately, they weren't doing well, so they went under, and we then took it over as a building and renovated it into a school.
Because you've got 21 schools in total in the network, and you've built that up over the last decade. We'll get to how you did that in just a little while. I've been to your school in Bramley, and that is a disused school, or was a disused school that you've taken over. This is a factory space. Is any space a good space provided it has room?
Yeah, we love shopping centres that are just empty. We've turned around wedding venues, old nightclubs. So because of our efficient use of space, we really are able to renovate and utilise space more effectively, especially in the suburbs.
Now, what is the model? Because these kids are sitting here. These are 6 and 7-year-olds. They're sitting here on computers. Most people wouldn't let children near their own laptop before they were 21, never mind now. You operate something called blended learning, which is global best practice in terms of the ability of kids to learn in a classroom, but then to practice what they're learning here.
Absolutely. And so what you're seeing here in the Learning Lab is really kids interacting with adaptive software to allow for extension and review and reinforcement of what happened in the classroom. And so if you walked around, you'll see that each child's screen is showing a different stage, all depending on their level of mastery. And what the kids are actually currently on the ST Math program, which is a program that we use from the US, that's absolutely brilliant in really ensuring that our kids master foundational skills.
I mean, that's a US program, but you are teaching the South African school curriculum. There's no breaking away out of that.
No, so we align completely to the national curriculum, but then we extend based on international expectations. And so we benchmark against Singapore for maths and then the UK for literacy.
When you're asking parents to pay 2,000 Rand per child per term, how do they benchmark what you're achieving here versus what they could get at a local government school without a taxi ride, without having to drop the kids off at school, and bringing kids to a central spot like this in New Doornfontein?
So, Bruce, I would say our parents, what they love about Spark, I think it's a big focus on our core values and our character development. So, of course, the education is very important to them, and they can see how their kids are achieving compared to their peers. So, a silly example would be that at a birthday party, their child's reading their birthday card and their friends can't read it. But they really appreciate our social emotional learning, where we focus on character development. We have a toolbox. We give them a language and a use of words that they are able to deal with everyday life situations, when they're actually teaching their parents on how to be more appropriate in difficult situations.
I want to get on to the origins of this idea, because you were an MBA student. You'd run the hospitality for FIFA during the World Cup in 2010, and was kind of education, higher executive education was going to be a launch pad, as it is for many South Africans, to a global career. There was a spark somewhere that said, nah, I'm not going to do that. I feel like starting a school.
Bruce, so when I was doing my MBA at Gibbs, I just could not believe about the state of education in South Africa, and yet we're spending so much money. So as a nation, we've prioritized it, but we're not seeing the results that we should be, and that our kids should be delivering at an international level. And so I felt it was my responsibility to really look at what was happening. I did my thesis on it, trying to understand the sustainable financial model. Also, how can we ensure that we're competing at an international level? And then from there, Spark started. It was, at the beginning, I suppose I had nothing to lose and just really started networking and figuring out what was possible, but then spent some time looking at models across Africa, India, and the US. And then when we came across this whole blended learning approach and the way it was being pioneered in the US, it was a no-brainer, because our kids would be able to achieve at an international level, and yet it was affordable to the families.
We're going to talk about the early start of Spark Schools. It started with one campus in Randburg in Johannesburg. It's now got 21 campuses, mostly in Gauteng. There's one in Stellenbosch. And this year opened 5 brand new schools, including for the first time a high school, because the first kids who started at Spark Schools are now of that age. So Stacy Brewer, the founder and chief executive of Spark Schools, on growing a business in what economists are calling South Africa's lost decade. Well, there are a lot more decades to lose unless we get education right. More on that in a moment.